Oh yeah, that looks way better on here.
Much better, John says. Yay.
Good.
We're only 15 minutes late.
It's okay. We'll just do what we can do.
Kathy, you have a link. So far, we just
Here's
have
our
John.
biggest fans, Henrik and Sandy.
Yeah.
I know.
He was endorsing us.
And Al and Charlotte.
He's been promoting us.
I hope. Hope my parents can get it because it's not on the general Slack, right? It's on the after hours.
Hang on, Kathy. Kathy. Hang on.
Two PC stream setups is something that you hear a lot of bigger Twitch streamers using. It ensures that they have.
Okay, try that link for people. I can't open Slack. Here we go.
Did you order your groceries online?
No, I don't actually, because you can't do it. It's like to order your groceries online is
You have to order a week in advance.
a week in advance, which is
Scott's wife ordered and accidentally put through a $12,000 bill.
what?
Yeah, they fixed it, but it was pretty funny. Oh, yay! That's working better.
You got it, Kath?
Well, I don't know if it's working for my parents, but we'll see. Oh, Karen's there.
You want me to text Al and Charlotte this new link?
Sure. Karen's on. Hi, Karen.
Aw.
There we go. That's the mug shot.
There it is.
All right.
Hi, Karen. It's okay. He'll just stay with me. Come up here then.
That's okay. John's back. So they're gradually floating back in.
Yeah.
That was an excellent point, Lisa. Like I have never heard it said that well. That was
So profound,
amazing.
right? I know.
That was in fact, I feel like we should just kind of close it up now
I
after
know.
that.
End it all.
It was so nice to see you all, or not see you all, talk to you all. What a great night.
Look at the dog. Chewy thinks it was
know.
great.
Dogs love me, but it's just not mutual, you know?
You should come over here, Chewy. You'll get more affection.
Sorry, Chewy. Just don't have that fuzzy feeling.
Jason or Chelsea, I'm not sure which of you, but you're very discerning, like extremely wise. They think I'm hilarious. I mean, that's obviously they're really.
Jason and Chelsea think you're hilarious.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's Chelsea. Kessia doesn't think I'm hilarious. Kathy doesn't think I'm
No.
hilarious, but you know, it's nice to have a fan club. Oh, shall we start or shall we wait two
Just
more
wait,
minutes?
wait 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Just let people go.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. We had to move to do the social distancing thing properly, and it has been a little bit difficult. But next week won't be so bad.
Yeah, we'll get the swing of it here.
I guess while we're waiting, we could zap the.
Don't look. What? Where did you buy this contraption?
I had this for. It goes in my light box.
Could you tell people what you're doing?
Tom
right
has a
now?
special light that we're not allowed to look at it, or what will it burn our retina?
It's,
It will burn our eyes. But
But
what does it do? It disinfects.
it's UV light. It's UVC light, which is the most radical. UV
Kills the
light.
virus.
Oh, okay.
Anything in the air.
Oh,
You
it's so
never ever
intense.
need anything if you're traveling somewhere. You need something.
Tom will have it.
Okay.
Portable coffee maker.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Lots of things.
You got to have coffee. Hotels aren't reliable for coffee. Chewy's not keeping his social distance.
No, he's creating.
He's not
the,
very good at social distance.
No.
My pal. All right.
Lori says hi, Chewy.
Lori's back. Yay.
Yo.
And Bill's back. Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, after Henrik did that paid announcement, he probably took his paycheck that you gave him.
For promoting our cause.
Yeah.
And then he took
Yeah.
off.
Took off.
Took off with the money. Well, you want to start?
I guess we should start.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah. So we were just chatting a little bit about the sermon and the teaching on Sunday, and the thing that stuck out for all three of us really from the sermon was just the emphasis I was putting on nothing's changed. And so we were looking at Paul in prison, and Lisa, let's start with you. I made a comment about how it would see. He said, "This is going to make you even more bold in the gospel," and that seemed kind of counterintuitive to both of us. How so?
Yes. Well, yeah, one of the main things that stuck out to me was when you said that we would look at Paul in prison, and you would think we would say that it would almost make us not want to follow him, that would scare us. It would make us afraid and make us think, why would we want to follow Jesus? Look at Paul. He's in prison. Look at his life. It just seems dark. It seems maybe would seem hopeless or whatever. Like why would we?
And that's kind of legit.
Yeah, it's not
you don't
exactly
wanna,
the
you don't want to
poster
sign
for-
up for, oh, here comes death and
Yeah.
rotting in prison, right?
Exactly. And so it just stuck out to me when you said it doesn't seem like it would be that way, but then it actually is quite the opposite. Because we look at him and we say, even this, and you insert your specific circumstance, hasn't changed our hope. It's still Jesus. And then I look at my life and I look at right now and everything that's going on, or just even stuff in my past and anything. I go, even this hasn't changed my circumstance and my hope. And that's actually what builds that the foundation. That's what's built the foundation for me. And I said this to Ashley before, is like those prison moments, even in my own life, that have really changed and strengthened my own experience, I guess, with Jesus.
What's an example of that? Is that what you were going to
Yeah, I was
ask?
going to
Like,
say,
what's a prison
tell us what's a
moment?
prison moment.
It sounds kind of funny to say prison moment, but it just resonated with me because Ashley, you asked me before, like what makes you come to that realization, that to say like, even this hasn't changed our hope, it's still Jesus. How can we say that in a prison
Mhm.
moment? But I think it's when you start to experience that and you realize I have nothing else. I said this even a bit last week, like I have nothing else to hold on to here. It's just Jesus. That's what Paul was saying. I have nothing else to hold on to. It's just Jesus.
So in your life, besides what you're going through right now, what are some other moments where it was really difficult, but you kind of came to that same conclusion? And then you should ask me and the audience.
Yes. Well, I'll ask you first, actually.
Yeah.
In your life, where has there been moments where you've been like, this has been really difficult?
Well, I think about even things like dealing with my own depression, right?
Right.
Or a lot of times, like dealing with difficult family circumstances, but it's never just one thing. It's often normally multiple things. So it's
Right.
your own personal stuff that you're going through, your family stuff, could be your work stuff. Tie that with other friends and things that are happening. So it's usually just this multiple effect that happens where everything seems to be blowing up in your life,
Yeah.
and it gets really depressing. Another big thing for me has been losing people. Grief, people dying has been
Yeah.
really, really dark at points in my life.
Yeah.
What do you find?
So a prison moment is a moment where like you have no control. You're in prison where or in any other place in your life where you just realize all my control has been taken away from me. Everything that I was relying on, everything I thought that I had, this is how my life is put together, has crumbled, has broken. And so you're kind of left with nothing. We've heard that quite a bit the last few weeks, people saying, I'm going to end up with nothing, or I have nothing, or I'm there with nothing.
Everything you've been building for amounts to nothing right now.
And the thing that was cool to look at Paul in prison when he writes to the Philippians and he says, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. This is actually cool. This is actually fine because I'm here with Jesus. And if I'm somewhere else, I'm there with Jesus. And where you are, you're there with Jesus. And so your circumstances are kind of irrelevant. It's who you're with, not what's going on, but who you're with. And I'm with Jesus and everything's turning out that way. So it's kind of an antidote to like that feeling of helplessness and insecurity. So we kind of wanted to ask you guys,
Mm.
do you have any examples of prison moments? Lisa, while they're thinking, did you want to share one or do you want?
Yeah, I just think of, like you said, Ashley, I just think of moments in my life. For me, I think I was always that person that, and maybe you didn't do this as much, Ashley, or maybe you did, I don't know. But I was always that person that like fantasized so much about how I thought my life was going to be. I was always that person, even as a young girl, I would like play in my head these stories of like, I'm going to like live like this. It's going to look like that. And I would even, yeah, play out exactly what it was going to look like, even feel like the pictures, everything. And I was always even drawn into the movies and the stories about that. I loved it. I loved chick flicks and the romance. I just loved all those pictures and stories. So for me, it was when my life started to crumble and not at all look the way that I thought it was supposed to look like. And that's why when we joke at CFM, my like phrase for CFM is that it ruined my life, because for me that was the biggest thing for me, is going, this is ruining my life. Like the breaking down, when we say at CFM, you're worse than you think you are, and that realization of like and it was good for me to realize my life is not going the way that I had envisioned and I pictured, but I was trying so hard to figure out, what do I hold on to? It's not going the way I'm thinking. It's not going the way I'm thinking. And for me, that's probably one of my biggest prison moments, is realizing like my life is just not turning out the way I think. And for a long time, I'd sit there in that pit of darkness and go, what do I do? Until I started to encounter Jesus there and realize this is everything.
Actually it.
This is it. This is everything. Right.
I think
Lori writes in and says, the last year and a half, pick any time, pick anything.
Yeah.
And
That's right, Lori.
And like,
I
Lori,
know.
thanks for your vulnerability in saying that, right? Like going through cancer yourself, losing your mom recently and her struggles and illness, and, so many other things that come along with it, your own health, your own financial situation, and all of these things, right? I can't imagine the days and days of darkness and what that feels like. You've walked through cancer in your early years too, being alone, right? It's really horrible.
I'm sorry. I'm actually not tearing up over that. I'm tearing up over Lori and then Chelsea. Prison moments. It's easy to kind of for us to just say it,
I know.
but you all feel it, right? You feel it, and that actually is kind of what we wanted to talk about a little bit tonight. Because how do you keep the grief from turning to depression? How does it get rescued? I want to preach this week. Paul actually says to them that he knows he's going to be delivered, but he's not talking about getting out of prison. He's talking about being rescued so that everything will go to the glory of Christ. In other words, he says, I'm going to be rescued here, and that is my whole life's going to come to something more. and 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 that's what it's all about, to have something greater invade and rescue and secure our life so that all the other little things just can't pile up. Then you kind of close off the Casablanca movie and say, our troubles don't mount to a hill of beans. Um, there's something more. Actually, you and I were talking about that
Mm.
as, and I think probably we should go straight there, but um, just can't be defeated by anything small anymore. And what's small about losing your job, losing your health, losing your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister? What's small about losing it, as Chelsea writes, a baby girl? And what's small about some of the pain that all of you have known? It's not tiny, it's not trivial, but it's not Jesus. It's not forever. It's not a trap that you can't escape. You will be delivered.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of things, right? It's because it's true, and but how do we come to believe that is one element, and then just even looking at what you're saying, if this is far greater, how do we replace what's existing with something that's far greater? It's essentially what Paul's doing when he's sitting in prison. He starts to rehearse and believe something that's more, and we can definitely, I think we should move into that because that is actually really helpful.
And let me
But
just go ahead.
well, what I was going to say is, Lisa, you were talking to me about this, and this is something I noticed, and you challenged me on this years ago. It's how do we use the time and what's happening in those prison moments to create something more?
Yeah.
You know, how do you use your loneliness? How do you use your sickness? How do you use your feelings of being trapped? How do you use your feelings, your grievances? Is that a word? Yeah.
Your grief.
Or grief. How do you use all that to create something more? Because that's essentially where we have to go. If we just stay with this is what it is, then we don't actually graduate into anything else. That's all it is.
So you have to move there for something more. You have to move, you have to graduate. I like the word. You have to take in something more. We were talking earlier
Mhm.
about some advice that was given to someone that here's
Yeah.
here's your
Yeah.
here's your more. What were some of the things you read there?
Yes.
I'm taking more.
It was just some advice that my parents were actually sharing, saying that and I know some of you probably can relate to this. There's a lot of information and articles and emails and encouragement things kind of circulating around, right? Of people kind of trying to keep it positive and positive vibes and we're all in this together. And some stuff is
And
cool
nothing's
and
wrong with
nothing's
that.
wrong with
No.
it. It's cool to say, let's support each other and
Yeah.
do some of these things. That's great. But some of just a little excerpt from one of them that was kind of sent around, and a little piece of it said, that, for example, new cars and old cars also stand in the garages simply because nobody can get out, empty streets, less pollution. You have money, who really cares? Money doesn't matter anymore. The whole thing. We've heard it a million times. And then they said, what is the solution? What the solution is teaching us, our best protection is God and ourselves, our best refuge, home, our best company, family, our real time, today, nature's call, stop us, its message, wait, respect. And then it says, stop, breathe, respect. You know what I mean? And okay,
And those are all fine things.
Sure.
Stop, breathe, respect things.
this is what this situation is telling us
Yeah.
about this time. This is what we need to do. This is what this is about for us, right?
Yeah.
And this is going around a lot. This is what we can take away from this. This is what this is about for us right now, right? It's not about you, it's not about your gods, it's about stop, breathe, respect.
But it's still what you said is it still doesn't work because your home can't be your refuge. We even know that. Like I was saying, my friend's
I know.
dad got sick with COVID. Actually, it went to he died 3 days ago, went to the mother, went to all the siblings. So that's not really like just in this circumstance, it's not really a refuge.
Yeah. What if your refuge can't be your home?
Yeah.
What if your
you're-
best company can't be your family?
What
What if they're
you just want
annoying
to
you?
kill them?
The hell out of you, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Right.
That's not a reference to my wife upstairs. That's not. But it's that this is a hard time for a lot of families.
Yeah.
This is a lot of time, hard time for a lot of homes. And it's interesting because I was actually going to read this earlier. Paul writes to them and he says, so what, this is Paul's little Facebook or Instagram
Okay. If
thing.
you were to send out a mass email.
Yeah, here's Paul's Instagram for the Philippian church. He said, here's my prayer for you, that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may prove what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. And basically, it's typical Paul. It's typical CF. It's everything we are always talking about. But it just says, here's my prayer for you. My prayer is, I just want you to know Jesus more. I want you to know Jesus with more knowledge, more discernment, that's more kind of understanding and grasping and grokking, getting it. I wonder if anybody's going to get that reference. We'll see if that comes in. Are there any other nerds out there? Let's find
There's
out.
always a nerd.
So, and he says, this is what I want you to do, because that'll fill you up with fruit. That'll secure your life. That'll be it. That's it. That's all there is. And so there's that antidote to their problem is, he said, I just want you to have the affection, the desire, the love of Jesus.
Well, but Lisa took that email, right? And you replaced it with something.
Yeah. I looked at it was just funny when I was reading it. I was like, because my mom actually sent it over. She said, what do you think of this? And I was reading it and I thought, in a sense, it was like, okay, you know how I said our best protection, God and ourselves, our best refuge, home, our best company, family, real time, today, all this stuff. And I just replaced it with, I was thinking about it for us. And I thought our best protection, Jesus, our best refuge, Jesus, our best company, Jesus, our real time, Jesus, nature's call, Jesus, its message, Jesus. And it sounds like, a classic thing we would say, but in a sense, that's the truth, because what it does too is it takes away the control. Because when I read that at first, it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of like it's on us to be like, all right, this is what I need to take away from this in this time right now. I feel out of control. How do I swap the feeling out of control with being more in control, with being respectful and breathing and stopping in this moment? Like, it's still more of the same control in all of this, right?
Right.
But when you swap it with Jesus, and like we said in the beginning, like what we were saying with Paul, I'm not in control anymore. It's not about me being in control of this. It's about me remembering
Who is?
he's in control. And I'm part of his story, and he's in control, and that, you know what I mean? And ironically, I do breathe. You know what I mean? Like it does.
You're still going to do that stuff.
Yeah. But it's very different when you look at it in that perspective.
I was saying, for some reason, Psalm 115 is comforting me more and more, and I think for a good reason, right? Where is your God? Oh, our God's in heaven. He does what he pleases. It's scary, but it's actually comfort. God's writing the story, like you're saying, which is really critical.
Yeah.
I think that we take this concept, and if you look at just like psychology in general, and we talked a lot about mental health being so important right now too, and that fits into what we're talking about in spirituality. If you look at anything, if you look at addiction, if you look at even concept of how do you overcome depression or not go into despair, like we're talking about, what about anxiety even? How do I deal with my anxiety on a day-to-day basis? All of those things. One of the greatest tactics you learn, this isn't rocket science, is replace it with something that's greater. Regardless of what your mental health problem is.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to start to feast on something that's more. And so generally speaking, when someone has an addiction, it's replace it with a habit that's healthier. But if you really want to, if you really want to move forward and you really want to change something, you want to change any kind of behavior in your life, you have to be able to cultivate the greatest thing of all, which is desire that comes from Jesus. And I was saying last week, that's actually one of the hardest things to cultivate right now, because you don't always feel desire. You don't wake up. I don't wake up. I don't really feel motivated.
I was just gonna say, when you said that today, like just before, I'm like, I have not felt desire in the
Yeah.
last like few weeks.
A longing,
I don't
a
know if you
yearning,
guys have
a
felt that.
love.
Like, have you felt desire? I have not, because how can you feel desire when you feel anxious, when you feel stressed, when you feel it just snuffs it out. Like I haven't felt much desire. It's hard to feel desire when in, especially in this last little while. I haven't felt it much.
What does it feel like to you to feel desire?
What is it like?
What does it feel like?
It just feels, I don't know. I think it just feels like a lightness, like it feels like like I'm drawn to people, or I'm drawn to,
A lightness, a spark
yeah, a
inside of you.
spark, kind of.
How do you feel about yourself when you feel desire?
I feel like I enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I feel like I don't enjoy myself when I'm like stressed, or when I'm, you just feel like, oh, I'm not very enjoyable right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can just feel it, like you're just edgy, or you're kind of,
You start to
Yeah.
appreciate different things about yourself and about other
Yeah.
people.
See, right now, all our little desires are crashing. So maybe we were planning a summer vacation, and that we
Right.
thought about that all the time. We thought this is going to be awesome. Or, my daughter's not going to be able to graduate in the gymnasium this spring, and like we, that's something we've been waiting for a long time. Just teasing kids, yeah. But
Mhm.
or maybe someone's planning to get married, and then and had a 200 person wedding, and now they can only have 5 people at their wedding, and so you have all the little desires end, and so then you feel like that's the end of desire. You feel like that's the end of anything. And the whole point is that we're looking for something greater, that we want to actually be sparked,
Right.
caught by a new affection. I hope that Easter can be just a grabbing of us and a drawing of us towards Him. Karen, go ahead. Karen writes, like kids
Yeah.
coming home for Easter.
Yeah.
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 But you look at,
Yeah.
why did people want to be in the presence of Jesus? I think they start to feel desire. They start to experience that. We experience that as a family, right? As a church community, we experience that sense of our lives are about something more. And I found one thing in the mornings, getting up and just remembering,
Yeah.
because I'll wake up and I'll just feel so heavy and so much weight of everything that's going on. But who really is Jesus? Who really am I? What is this really about? How does love actually prevail in the midst of this? And I think Paul experienced desire sitting in a prison cell, which seems
Of course he did.
Yeah.
so contrary to what you should ever experience in those kind of situations.
Because you can feel no desire and be like at Disneyland, or on the beach somewhere, and
That's a really good point.
in like the most beautiful sunny day, whatever, and you can have flat, no desire.
Yeah. Yeah. So
know?
it's sparking that too. How do you
Yeah.
encourage people to spark that desire?
Well, I was thinking about Sunday morning the last
She was really bored by this.
few weeks, because you just get so worn down with not being able to be with people, and then I think I'm not going to enjoy Sunday. I'm not going to enjoy Zooming with my church. I want to be with them. But the last what's been happening for me is, as people start lighting up the screen and start being there, I start to get a little overwhelmed because of desire, because I really want to be with them, because this isn't enough. It's just nowhere near enough. I want to see you. I want to sit and talk with you. I want to ask you how you're doing. I want to look in your eyes, those kinds of things. But it is still sparking something. Just
Mhm.
the seeing that something sparks alive. And last night we were doing story shaped living, and I was exhausted before it went on. And Kathy and I both were like, oh, it's just so hard. But as soon as it started, as soon as we started, it was like, these are people that I love, and this is good. And almost like when 8 o'clock came, we didn't want to quit. So I think one of the things to do is to first of all contact Jesus in the morning, as in give some thought, give some adoration to Jesus. And secondly, randomly contact someone else in our church and just say, just wanted to tell you I love you.
Mm.
Just call somebody to tell them I love you, and desire will follow.
Even that, just speaking those words, right? How do you guys cultivate desire? When do you sense it the most?
John says, my prison moments have continued to teach me that I'm not in control. So slowly I'm living knowing I'm not in control and finding peace in that. Jesus has revealed himself to me each time, showing me that he is in control. And that is so freeing. Trying to live this way continues to draw me closer to him.
Hmm. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that.
That's Chelsea.
Oh, sorry. That's Chelsea, not John. They're all confused here with these.
How
Weird
else?
names.
How do people experience
Chelsea.
desire? How do you get that spark back?
I was realizing too, I don't know if people like, I know relationships, it's like hard right now for people with different relationships and family dynamics. I know you were saying like it's just hard, like with family right now and friends, and there's tension still. I mean, this past week I felt like there's a lot of tensions in relationships with people. And I don't, it feels weird to always bring up like the whole COVID thing and the right and the wrong and all this, but it still is there and it still is affecting relationships and people and all that kind of stuff. But I was realizing that even in my life, there was like tension building in friendships. And I had a conversation with a close friend of mine that there was some tension. And I was nervous to talk to this person. But I found when I did, it it started out spicy for me, but it was the best thing for me. And
Sort it
I have no
out.
idea if it was for this person. Maybe I'm sure it
I'm
was.
sure it was.
But it started out spicy for me, and I felt like, but it was me trusting. It was a little bit of that sparking of desire, because it was like, I'm feeling flat, whatever, but I'm going to trust love in this. And it was like, there's tension here, whatever, I'm going to go for it. And it sparked desire for me again, too, to realize, oh, yeah, like love wins in this, because there was love before and there's going to be love in the end. So I'm just going to go for it, even if there's tension. And so, even in that, if there's like weird tensions with people, like
Work them out.
work them out, because actually it's a weird way to, I've been doing that. I feel like the last several weeks, even in my marriage, right? You're always working through things because you're in close quarters, whatever. So I'm like, why not do it with friends or family or people that you're, if there's ever tensions, you're feeling that, because it actually grows desire when it's intimate, to actually be like, hey, this is bothering me or whatever, right?
To work it out and to believe there's going to be something else that's greater.
Yeah.
right?
And then when you experience
it's
it,
a
you're
place for
like,
Jesus to invade. You said
exactly. And that's desire builds there too.
that. No, I think that's really helpful because honestly, right now, most times we're just like, oh, don't want to set off anything. Don't want to. Let's just
Yeah.
tiptoe around. Let's just make this
Yeah.
livable.
Yeah.
Because
Survive
it's
the
really
next 4
bad.
months.
And it just kills
And,
desire.
and it's I see it in my workplace too.
Mhm.
Let's just not say anything about this.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're saying, and I really love that. It's a place actually where Jesus can invade and you can experience desire again. And something so much stronger with a person. Because even
Yeah.
when you battled that out, your relationship's stronger now.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Chelsea said, love that, a place for Jesus to invade.
It's funny because we usually talk about entry gates.
Mm.
Like John writes about trials and tribulations, but it's that idea that you have these moments. These are gates. These are open doors where you can go in and deal with and point towards Jesus. And what you guys have just described is an entry gate for Jesus
Yeah.
into us.
Yeah.
Like this isn't
That's
us.
true.
This is him invading our life and saying, "Hey, wake up! Here I am." And we're crying, we're sobbing, we're angry, we're facing the pillow and not wanting to lift our head and saying, "Go away, go away, go away." And he just comes in and says, "No, nothing's changed. This is all good, and I love you, and I'm going to make this perfect. But I'm going to deliver you." But
These are actually the moments. These moments matter.
yeah,
It's not
Mhm.
when it's not when the high points, you know?
Yeah.
Another thing you always taught was it's all the in between moments. It's everything else. It's not when life is going great and I'm out in my new car and look wonderful and
Yeah.
whatever else.
Yeah.
It's not really that. It's actually in these moments that we cultivate something.
It's
So
like
we have to take it and we have to use it because sometimes it just monopolizes everything and we have to cultivate something that's greater.
Mhm.
I think it's hard. I think it's really, really hard. But what it produces is fullness and a wholeness
Hmm.
and desire.
Yeah.
well,
John said working out in the park with a few friends. That's like in the small spaces, 6 feet apart, of course.
And everybody's dying.
Is that, are you one of the 6 people? Or
No,
one of
6
the few
feet.
people 6 feet apart? I'm
Not
assuming.
being motivated.
Yeah.
It's probably me.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. No, but I do think that I've always heard that in my head over and over again. Take what you're experiencing and use it for your growth. And I think that's what Paul did.
yeah. Because we don't say, I'm not, I can't live right now. Things are too rough. If this happens, then I can start living again. If that happens, then I'll start living
Start living
again.
again.
No, we use these to live now. We grow now, and we hope now, and we joy now, and we cry and laugh now. But we do all these things now because life is now.
We see it sometimes right now, and we even talk about it in society as this is going to be a major step back, even
Yeah.
economically speaking, everything else. It actually is a step forward if you step on it and move somewhere.
Hmm.
It actually can launch you into something that's deeper and greater. It's not a step back. It's actually the opposite of what everybody's saying.
I said this last night in our story shaped living, and I think about this all the time. And actually, you've been around long enough to experience this too. But quite often, when I'm talking to somebody, counseling somebody, or they're going through a really rough time, and they're just like, "Oh, this is like our marriage is at rock bottom. I'm at rock bottom. My sins are rock bottom. This is this," and I often feel like when you recognize that, when you see that, it's like this is the moment then when this could be the greatest day of your life. This
Well, you
is
told me
I
that.
did.
And the day that I
Yeah.
thought was one of the darkest days of my life, you said this was the greatest day of my life. And it
And
was. It was a
because
turning point.
Jesus invades and you just
Mhm.
stop trying to hold on to control. You let go of control. You see Jesus. And so I kind of feel like I wonder if we can pray and hope that 5 years from now, when people say, "What was it like to do that COVID stuff?" that we say, "That was the best year of my life."
Mm.
Look
Mhm.
skeptical there, Lisa.
Do I look skeptical?
No, that's cool though. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
is that possible? Is it possible? And it can be because I learned Jesus in a new way. I learned hope in a new way. For me, lying in a hospital bed month after month after month turned out to be one of the best times of my life.
Yeah, I think it's good.
All right. Any
Thank
last
you.
comments from the studio audience? Subscriptions are shooting up, but numbers are dwindling. So I don't know how that
There's one
works.
comment there. What does it say? I can't see. from
Oh,
here.
yeah. Best year of your life would be hard to say for a grocery worker or healthcare worker. John says.
What if though? What if that grocery worker, and here they are, they have to show up to a job that, you know, 3 months ago nobody considered very important, and now it's like critical, and
Most important.
yeah, and they have to
Yeah.
show up, and it's just hard, and it's dangerous, and it's tiring, and people are snarly. It's horrible, and so yeah, it's miserable. But what if in the middle of that, that grocery worker comes face to face with, I'm not in control. Jesus is. He loves me. He's rescuing me. He's delivering me. And that was the time that I stopped trying to be my own God. I stopped trying to hold on to all my dead idols, and I met a living God.
Mm.
That was the time I fell in love.
Because that's what I was going to say. You know, when you said, like, I had my skeptic look when you said that a bit.
Yeah.
But it was because when you said best year of my life, I look and I go, yes, and I agree with you. But the look is of that usually means it's hard. Because when you say, what if we could say this was the best year of our life? Whenever I hear Tom say that, I know that usually means, and it's meant in my past, whenever I've said that was the most greatest time of my growth and I wouldn't trade it for anything, has usually been some of the most traumatic times in my life.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre to say I wouldn't trade them because they've been the most traumatic times of my life, yet they've been the most growth. So it's like that. It's not saying the best time of my life. And it is, and it isn't. It's this weird
Yeah.
thing. Like that grocery store worker would go the best year, but at the same time was really hard and was really just like in prison. You know what I mean?
It's cool that you said that, Lisa. And while you were talking, Chelsea wrote what she wrote, because you two are like singing a duet.
We're in sync, Chelsea. You
Chelsea
and I.
write?
She says, referring to when she lost her baby, I wouldn't have
Yeah.
have wanted that
exactly.
for anyone,
No.
but it wouldn't have changed. I wouldn't have changed that experience for anything. That's the day
Yeah.
that saved my life.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
And you went through something similar just
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
and the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
And it's also become something that you've often gone back to as a moment of
Exactly.
growing, changing,
Mhm.
strengthening. And Ashley and I can both say it. Like, we've watched you grow, Lisa, in this last year, and like amazingly, like just cool.
Yeah.
So
My dad texted me something because I don't think he knows how to I don't think he has an account to comment, but he's watching, I think. So he said, control is my drug of choice when faith grows weak, when my faith grows weak.
Mm.
that's true.
Yeah.
So true for all of us, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We should open, maybe in the future, we should open Slack for comments, not just this board,
Yeah.
but
If you
Slack
don't
board,
have a
because you have to have an
account or
account.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we were out of time because we had technical difficulties to slow us in. But thank you all.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
That's it. That's all she
Cheers.
wrote. Bye.